What's going on, Diablo 2 fans? Hat here bringing you another video. Today we're going to specifically talk about Sunder charms. I get a lot of people either ask me questions about them or saying something that I don't find that doesn't make sense to me, and I realize it's because they don't really understand how they work. So I'm going to explain it in a way that I guess I would like somebody to explain it to me. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's get it.
11.
All right, so the first thing we want to talk about Sunder charms is where to find them. They can only be found in level 75 zones, terror zones. That exact number or level of terror zone will show in the upper right hand corner of the screen when you're inside a terror zone. And because it's level 75, that means hell only. When we look at the Sunder charm, we are going to see two properties. One is going to say monster cold immunity is sundered, and one is going to say the elements of that Sunder charm, the resistance negative, and it's between negative 70 and negative 90. These two properties are separate. The first property is going to take any monster that would be cold immune and make them no longer immune. And we'll get more into that in a bit. The second property is going to apply to our resistance, just like any other resistance charm, except instead of plus to resistance to our stats, it is going to be a minus resistance, meaning that it is going to take that amount of resistance away from us. So if you were to have multiple cold Sunder charms, the sundering portion of it is not going to stack. It's not going to make them any more resistant. However, you can have multiple stack your negative cold resistance. So it can do nothing but be more bad for you to have more of those in your inventory, because it's just going to give you more and more negative res and bring your resistance down. Now, monster immunity is sundered. That is, like I said, what it does is it makes their resistance 95. So here on the left, we have a regular mob. This could be any mob in the game that's not already cold immune. He could be fire immune or something. We're going to use cold for the example here. He's not immune, right? So his cold res could be anywhere between 95 and lower, right? We'll just say for this instance, his cold res is 40. What that means is he is resisting 40% of the damage. Is being nerfed, meaning 40% of the damage you're dealing, and all monsters have a certain percent of this, where they're reducing your cold res, but you're dealing damage, and you're dealing enough damage to kill them, and it's not even, when it's low like 40 and whatnot, it's not even that noticeable. So you'll see things that aren't immune seem to die no problem, as per usual, right? Then there's the cold immune monsters. They have a resistance of 100 and up because they are resisting 100% of your cold damage. And sometimes they can be all the way up to 170. Even in some cases, they can be up to 1000. They will not take cold damage no matter what, unless you have a Sunder charm on. Now, when you have a Sunder charm on and they are sundered, like I said, this is a cold example. If they would have anything over 100 or 100 and up, they are now just capped and just changed and set at 95. So that means that they are no longer immune. Instead of 100% of the or up of the damage being reducted, only 95% of the damage is being reducted. Now that does mean that only 5% of your damage is going through. Which in most cases means you're still not doing a lot, if not even enough, to even kill the mob. In order to be able to kill these mobs at a fast pace, you're going to need to wear some gear, or in the cold Sork's case, have just some type of, they have cold mastery so they can get negative resistance. That will apply to this. So in our specific case, we have cold mastery, right? And that applies negative 125 to all mobs that we are dealing cold damage to. So what we're going to do is you'll have this monster that is now sundered. So his cold res is at 95. He is no longer immune like they were. And we have our negative 125 resistance now applies to this, and so his new resistance is actually at negative 30. So we are dealing as much, if not more, damage than we would have dealt otherwise. And the same thing applies to regular mobs. They're getting the same negative 25 as well. 125. But the maximum they can go negative, or any monster can go negative, is 195, which is something to keep in mind, so you don't put too many points into Cold Mastery. Now, things like magic Sunder Charms and physical Sunder Charms, I really don't know how to add additional negative resistance. I don't know if you can. I haven't looked into it. That'll be another video if I figure something cool out about that. It is worth mentioning that things like, the fire Sunder Charms and lightning Sunder Charms, because they don't have, their mastery doesn't do negative to resistances like Cold does, you have to get that negative resistance elsewhere from things like gear. So in a lightning kind of case, we want to use things like Crescent Moon does negative 35 to enemy lightning resistance. Paired with Griffins, that's an additional negative, in this case, 24. That way we're actually doing damage, because at them being at even though they're just sundered, they still have 95% resistances, and we're not going to do any damage unless we have an additional negative to enemy resistance properties on our gear. Once you have a Sunder Charm on, it is worth mentioning that things like Infinity, that does the Conviction Aura, as well as the lower resistance curse, their debuff that they apply to the monsters is nerfed to 1/5 of the percent. I know Infinity's Conviction, that means that technically it is doing a negative 20% to everything. So if you're using Infinity and Asunder, you are getting specifically just an additional negative 20 added on, which isn't great, but it's not completely useless, and we'll do some testing with that later. That is it in a nutshell. I hope you find this helpful. Maybe people that are returning, late because they found out this ladder is actually pretty fun, or you're trying to get your friends to join and they don't really understand it. Maybe this video helped them as well. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully we'll have some new builds coming out with these Sunder Charms, as well as, like I said, if we can get some more information on some testing with some of these other elements and whatnot, I'll have a little bit of fun. Once again, thank you so much for watching. It means more to me than you can imagine. Please hit that like and subscribe button as per usual, and I'll catch everybody on the next one. Much love. Peace.